Welcome in, folks. Hey, we got a nice little open there this time.
That's a change of pace. We want to thank JJ, who's running the ship behind the scenes, for that wonderful open.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, start out with a bit of a soaker today, so we changed up the feel of the weather. Still nothing hot or humid yet. I just feel like the other shoe is going to drop at some point. I looked at the models. There's nothing that really suggests.
You're talking like in over the next week or so, or like short term?
Looking out even to the end of June. Granted that we're halfway, a little more than halfway through it. Yep. And I like to look a week, 2 weeks. If you go any further than that, you're just pulling out the darts and throwing it at a dartboard.
Well, yeah, that's a relief, I think, to a lot of people. Especially we started off June very warm and humid at times, and we saw a big step back over the weekend. And much of this week has been cooler than average. And then today we have a pretty active weather day.
Yeah.
We have a weather impact alert that's in effect all the way through the rest of the day today. Probably cut that off, I'd say, later this evening. But it is going to be a rainy day today for most of us, beneficial rain, and there's even a chance of seeing some severe storms as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we ended that weather impact alert before probably even the 6 o'clock newscast.
Yeah.
It's just one of those days where we have a lot of cloud cover over us in the metro. That's going to hamper that heating that we're looking for, but there is heating in other parts of the state. So if you want to bring it up, we'll take a look at the weather impact alert again. It's rounds of showers. There'll be some thunderstorms. We've had some good rain this morning. I did take a peek at some of the radar estimates, and it looked like parts of Anoka County were getting above the half-inch mark already.
Good.
Now, those are radar estimates, and we'll have to check some rain buckets around the metro and see what's going on.
Yeah, it does look like we're going to mix in some dry time as well, especially like mid to late morning, basically the window that we're in right now. Rounds of rain today. We saw kind of the lighter, steadier stuff this morning. This afternoon, it's going to be more of the popcorn-type thunderstorms that kind of develop. Few severe storms are possible. However, we don't have all the ingredients necessary to produce like a sustained severe weather threat. So it looks like the storms that do pop this afternoon are going to be what we call pulsy, where they develop, they could quickly become severe, but then they basically collapse on themselves. So they don't last very long. But you're certainly going to want to keep your umbrella handy through most of the day today.
Big updraft, big rain, and then just kind of kills itself out, just destroys itself, just cutting off all that inflow. You can see what's going on across parts of those southern Great Lakes into the middle of the country there, moving into Missouri, Illinois. We'll highlight some of this here in a little bit. Much of this just raced across Iowa during the morning show today. In fact, right now, severe thunderstorm warnings are popping up in Illinois, but you can see, look at the flood warnings that eastern, southeastern Iowa has as they are just seeing torrential rain. And then big storms roll through, and then it just continues to rain on top of it. It's just adding insult to injury there.
Yeah, it was a big MCS that developed, about 3 o'clock this morning in northwestern Iowa, raced across the state. There were severe thunderstorm watches and warnings. There were numerous reports of 70-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts. In fact, we can show those reports right now. Look at that track. That, again, started in northwestern Iowa, cut right through, I think it was like Ames, and down towards Cedar Rapids, and now pushing into northwestern parts of Illinois, where we saw, I think the peak wind gust I saw was 94 miles per hour.
Yeah,
that was a measured gust, so that was some serious wind. And that part of the country continues to deal with a severe weather threat. In fact, a good chunk of Illinois and Indiana under a moderate risk for severe weather today. That's a 4 out of 5 on the severity scale. And Illinois, Jamie, just cannot catch a break with their severe weather this year.
What were the numbers yesterday? We looked at the number of tornado reports or confirmed tornadoes?
No, we'll have the final count at the end of the year. These are just tornado reports.
But so far,
we were comparing Minnesota to Illinois, and so far in Minnesota, we've had 17 reported tornadoes so far this season. Illinois has had nearly 150.
That's what, I remember. It was high. It was high in the 140 range. I remember that.
And that's not that far away from us. I mean, really. So the severe weather threat is happening in parts of the country, but not necessarily around us. And I wouldn't be surprised to see several other tornadoes being reported in Illinois and in Indiana today with that moderate risk, which we see, maybe a half a dozen moderate risks every year. They're not rare, but they're uncommon, we'll say.
Yeah.
and you can see around our neck of the woods, we have the green color. That's a marginal risk for severe weather, where again, we could see a couple of hailers, maybe a brief spin-up tornado if all things go right. But any severe weather threat we see is going to be fairly brief. And I think our window is like noon to 3 o'clock this afternoon.
That's what it's been looking like. Latest forecast models, again, these look like they're just going to be very isolated, like you said, pulsy. Here 1 minute, gone 5-10 minutes later, kind of an affair.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the enhanced and moderate risk. It's been very popular in that part of the country.
Yeah,
this
apparently.
year.
So here's a live look at radar now. There's the steady rain that we saw earlier this morning. And again, we're entering a bit of a lull at the moment. This steady, more stratiform rain is exiting north and east of the Twin Cities. However, that's not the last of the rain. If you look closely over far eastern South Dakota and even western Minnesota, you can see a little swirl right here. And this is where I'm actually going to walk over to the monitor, JJ, so if you can follow me there, I just want to point a couple of things out. So we have the steady rain that's leaving us right now, and we're seeing a bit of a lull, and you can see some sun is starting to show up across southern Minnesota. So there's our surface low right here spinning. And we're tracking where that surface low is during the peak daytime heating hours, again, mid to late afternoon. Those are the areas that are more likely going to see the severe weather. So you can kind of time this out. This is a 3-hour loop. Wherever that surface low is going to be, in about 3 hours from now, it's probably going to be southeast Minnesota, south central southeast Minnesota, and pushing away from us. So that's why we're saying our severe weather threat is going to be fairly temporary, because this sunlight right here, the sunshine, is going to quickly destabilize the atmosphere. So wherever we see the sun develop or show up, that's where we're probably going to see a better chance for severe storms. So there's a surface low crossing the state right now, and it's areas in south central, southeastern Minnesota with the best chance of seeing some severe weather. If we do see that sunshine show up around the Twin Cities, that's going to give us a better chance, a slightly better chance of seeing some of those brief severe storms. But north of the Twin Cities, we just have too much extensive cloud cover right now, so that's going to limit any severe weather threat. Though, Jamie, we still might see a couple of showers and maybe a few weak thunderstorms in that area later this afternoon as well.
Yeah, the forecast models this morning were having a hard time with how this was going to play out. And when I got in, it was about 2:15, 2:30. I'm looking at the radar, looking at the forecast models. And I was watching the Sioux Falls area because I knew, okay, that's going to be the area that starts to pick up this low-level jet. It was going to feed and set things off, and it worked out, and it went right across Iowa. That was to be expected. But it was having a hard time with more of that, like you said, that stratiform rain that was up around Alexandria, Brainerd direction, St. Cloud. Now it's over towards Hayward. But our in-house model, the graph, which folks at home, this might not make sense to you, but the graph was picking up on it. It was going to show it pivoting. So it extended from Brainerd back down towards maybe about Hinckley.
Yeah.
So kind of northwest to southeast, but north of the metro. And it was showing that it was going to pivot a little bit more and sweep into the metro. But right now, it's really not doing that. It is really running out of steam, running out of juice.
Pushing east. It's going to be east of I-35 entirely within the next couple of hours.
If it pivots, it might just sweep across Hudson and Eau Claire. Might just actually miss the cities altogether. But yeah, the more concerning area in the forecast models, some of the short range high-res models, between about Wilmer and the Twin Cities, right where we're seeing that clearing right now, was the favorite spot for those isolated thunderstorms to pop. And it was getting close. It was noon, but really like 1, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Really would be watching for those right there.
I think the next graphic is, here's a severe weather threat. So this is kind of what we're talking about, the marginal risk for severe weather. All hazards are possible, but the threat for tornadoes, pretty low. The threat for wind, fairly low, but you can see it's highlighting south central, southeastern Minnesota. It does include the Twin Cities. As Jamie mentioned, we're kind of on the northern edge of that line. Hail, elevated threat, and the hatched area right there is significant hail possible. That would include areas, say, east of Blue Earth, down towards Albert Lee, south of La Crosse. Those areas have a better chance of seeing more significant hailers.
Yeah, just some real strong updrafts in that part of the state. But yeah, not a very exciting severe weather day, to say the least. Here's the microcast. And again, this one was capturing watch how it kind of pivots into the metro, and it's just not really doing that. But from out towards Wilmer, and again, this one's been pretty consistent on it, As we get into those early afternoon hours, there they are dropping a little closer to Rochester direction, 3 o'clock.
And by this point, that surface low is kind of right on top of the Twin Cities, if not just south of us. Once it crosses over us and moves east, our severe weather threat is done. So by the peak daytime heating hours at after 3 to 6 o'clock, notice the severe threat. The thunderstorms are exiting southeast Minnesota, pushing into Wisconsin, and it looks like our threat for rain even fades as we head deeper into the evening. So after a really wet start to the day and potentially a thunderous early afternoon, the evening hours, Jamie, are looking pretty quiet.
Yeah, well, we have a forcing mechanism, the surface low. It's just not synced up with daytime heating, lots of heat, and lots of instability. It's just kind of coming through, and it'll just tap into whatever it can. And it'll be, underwhelming day of weather, would you say?
I mean, it's been wet. It's certainly been impactful. And you can certainly see what that clearing that's taking place in the southwestern part of the state is doing. If you're in the thick clouds right now, your temperatures are probably hanging out in the 50s. So Menominee, Hayward, Brainerd, International Falls, we're all in the mid-50s under that canopy of clouds. But wherever we see that sun show up, it's starting to warm rapidly. Marshall's knocking on the door at 70. Mankato's in the mid-60s right now. And if you know anything about physics, you know that heat rises. So wherever we have the warmer temperatures, we have more of that rising motion that helps to kind of jumpstart those thunderstorm potential this afternoon.
It's impressive that we're only at 58 in the metro.
Yeah.
I mean, you're thinking it's the middle of June, and it's just like, come on. But, and on top of that, you're looking for some of the fuel out there. The dew points, again, underwhelming.
Yeah.
But there is some, there's some upper 50s and low 60s mixed in there, and that's certainly going to be enough to get things going. But yeah, more isolated in nature with just kind of the dynamics we have and some of the ingredients here. If you just looked at this map, generally speaking, you would not expect anything of a big, powerful weather day. But yeah, you would get more of that stratiform soaking shower that we've seen already for today.
Yeah, and one thing we're also watching too, you can go ahead and go to the next graphic. One thing we're watching too is what's happening in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. So if the winds are really strong, you go about 5, 6, 7,000 feet up. If the winds are really strong up there, you tend to see storms kind of sustain themselves.
Yeah.
We have strong wind shear way up high. That helps to support thunderstorm growth. We just don't have that. So that's why we're talking the potential of pulsy storms where they develop quickly and then collapse on themselves. They just don't have that support network to keep them, up and alive.
Yeah.
And you look at the next 12 hours, there's our window of seeing the showers and thunderstorms through about mid-afternoon. And then after 5, 6 o'clock, it's still cloudy, but it doesn't look like we're going to see additional widespread rain, at least at that point.
Yeah, for that, when you're talking about that wind shear and winds aloft, when you hear the term low-level jet, you're going to be looking, Iowa today was a classic example of just what the winds can do and how they drive everything so quickly and just foster the long track thunderstorms. And you can see for today, again, a few of us might hit the 70s. I don't think the Twin Cities will unless we get a miraculous break in the clouds around here.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, all it takes is a couple hours of sunshine to heat us up quickly. So kind of if you're along and north of I-94, you're probably going to stay in that canopy of clouds, and temperatures are probably going to stay in the low to mid 60s. But if we do see a little bit of sunshine, better chance again from the Twin Cities southward, we still could hit near 70 degrees. Look at the rest of your forecast. It's still several rain chances, but they're not great, not as great as today. Tomorrow's going to be a dry day. We should see a clearing sky, temperature still seasonably cool. Once we get into Friday, a few isolated storms possible later in the afternoon. Father's Day weekend, I should say, as a whole, Jamie, has been looking better as of late. It did look like Sunday would be wet, but the latest trends have been to keep that rain mainly across southern Minnesota and Iowa.
Yeah, and depending on which run you look at, sometimes it's south of the state line, sometimes it's running along I-90. But the overwhelming area, again, does look like it could end up being a beautiful day, a good mix of sun and clouds. Maybe not the sunniest of days. But on Sunday, there are going to be a lot of outdoor activities going on. A lot of people who just want to be outside for the weekend. So again, I think this is going to shape up to be a pretty nice weekend as we get a little closer to Sunday. Some of the models, we start to pinpoint things a little bit better, and we'll see if, again, maybe most of the region ends up dry for Father's Day.
And you know what? You've got some fur babies.
Fur babies at home, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll be celebrating Father's Day as well, right?
Yeah, and if they could be outside, that's great. More
Leave
messes
Dad
in the
alone.
backyard. I'll clean up the backyard. It's better
Leave
than
Dad
cleaning up
alone.
the inside, right?
Yeah, I think I'll be doing a little golfing on Saturday. So
there you
avoiding
go.
the rush, we'll see what
Yeah.
happens there. So, hey, thanks for joining us for Weather or Whatever. We'll have updates throughout the day if we have additional severe weather threats. Until then, everyone have a terrific Wednesday.